Static translation glossaries are officially dead, and artificial intelligence is now evaluating its own work, deciding whether we human linguists even deserve to look at a project. This is Locanuku, your essential localization news and insights, serving up the strategies you actually need to use. Let's get right into it. The whole era of just fixing broken machine translations is completely over. We are stepping firmly into the world of autonomous AI orchestration. Look at Phrase, for example. They just rolled out their AI quality profiles, along with full AI style guide integration. Historically, AI models completely ignored those static PDF style guides we used to send over. They didn't understand your brand's unique tone or specific formatting instructions. But now, Phrase's AI can actually read language-specific style guides directly within the Translation Management System, or TMS. It evaluates the content based on custom checks, and here is the crazy part. If it gives itself a passing grade, it just automatically locks those high-quality segments. The human linguist doesn't even see it. It completely bypasses human intervention for low-risk text. Think of this shift like an automated airport baggage sorting system. In the past, you needed human handlers reading every single tag to route bags to the right carousel. Now, the AI is the central scanner network. It scans, routes, and redirects luggage automatically at high speed, and only alerts a human operator if a bag gets jammed. If we are moving toward these fully autonomous localization steps, the competitive edge for language service providers, or LSPs, isn't about who has the biggest database of translated sentences anymore. It is entirely about building smarter orchestration infrastructure. Take Welocalize and their Opal platform. They are getting massive industry recognition right now for this proprietary AI workflow tech. The platform automatically evaluates a source text and dynamically manages which large language model to select. If it's a quick internal chat message between colleagues, it routes it to a fast, cheap model. But if it's a highly sensitive, nuanced legal contract, it routes it to a specialized, heavy-duty LLM. Then it runs quality estimation and sets up human-in-the-loop triggers. It only flags a human reviewer when the machine's confidence score drops below a certain threshold. But here is where things get really interesting. If the machine is orchestrating everything and routing text to different models, how does the AI actually know the right words to use? If static glossaries are dead, aren't we just begging for massive inconsistencies? This is where we need to unlock a concept called operationalized terminology. Static glossaries fail because they simply don't survive the speed of a modern pipeline. You can't pause an automated workflow to go check some dusty spreadsheet on a shared drive. Today's systems require corpus-driven terminology extraction. We are pulling living, breathing language directly from vast active data sets and then injecting that dynamic terminology straight into the neural machine translation engines. We run project-level quality assurance against it in real time. The terminology literally becomes an operational part of the machine's neural network. Even with perfectly operationalized vocabulary, there is still a glaring blind spot: visual context. If you don't give the AI, or your human linguist, the actual user interface screenshots, they are just flying blind. They are forced to guess at spatial constraints and functional intent. If the source text just says "run," the AI has no idea if that refers to a physical fitness sprint in a health app or the command to execute a software program. Artificial intelligence doesn't magically fix missing context. It just scales those contextual mistakes at lightning speed. This traps your team in endless, painful clarification loops. You absolutely have to feed the pipeline screenshots before you even think about tweaking your prompts or machine translation settings. That requirement fundamentally changes how we evaluate the output. Look at Crowden's new dual preview WYSIWYG mode. WYSIWYG meaning what you see is what you get. The linguist actually sees the translated text rendered directly inside the final software interface or the document layout, rather than just staring at an isolated spreadsheet cell. It forces this massive shift toward document-level quality assurance. You aren't just translating segment by segment anymore. You are operating as a high-level reviewer of top-tier machine output. This completely rewrites the conversation between enterprise buyers and LSPs. Every vendor out there slaps an AI-powered badge on their website right now, but buyers are getting savvy. They demand stringent, transparent evaluation frameworks. Specifically, they are looking for multidimensional quality metrics, or MQM. They don't want binary pass or fail grades anymore. MQM categorizes machine errors by specific types, like, is this a fluency issue or a terminology error, and then weights them by severity. LSPs have to provide that data to show buyers exactly where the AI succeeds, where the human takes over, and frankly, to have honest discussions about where the AI flat out fails. Let's take that a step further into environments where an AI failure isn't just a bad MQM score, but an actual legal or technical disaster. General LLMs are incredibly fluent, but they lack regulatory precision. They will confidently hallucinate a grammatically flawless sentence that is factually wrong. This is exactly where knowledge graph mediated translation, or KGMT, becomes critical. For regulated industries, translation is a strict governance issue. A knowledge graph operates as a deterministic fence around a probabilistic AI model. It maps out the exact relationships between concepts. Imagine you are localizing the technical manual for a commercial aerospace navigation system. If a generic generative model gets confused by ambiguous phrasing and translates a critical altitude threshold incorrectly, you could trigger a catastrophic flight failure. So, a knowledge graph governs the translation process by forcing the AI to strictly encode terminology and adhere to the engineered relationships of those specific components. It provides a traceable audit trail, proving exactly why the system chose an engineering term, something generic models just cannot reliably produce. So for text, we're building these massive governance fences. But if we shift over to media and voice, the dynamic is completely different. The moment you give AI a voice, you create an incredible tension between the sheer speed of automation and the actual soul of human performance. The Snow League is a perfect example of the speed side. They partnered with Google Cloud to bypass traditional dubbing houses entirely. They are using the Video Transport API to build a fully automated dubbing and captioning pipeline directly on their cloud infrastructure. They're broadcasting winter sports to over 100 countries, creating hyper-personalized fan experiences at an unbelievable scale without booking a single traditional studio. Contrast that with Grind Studios over in Mexico, a major dubbing house. They are actively walling off their emotive talent from those exact automation pipelines. They officially launched an ethical AI strategy, positioning themselves as a human-first gatekeeper in the Latin American market. Under this new charter, AI is strictly restricted to workflow efficiency and minor audio retakes, and crucially, only with explicit actor consent. They are rigorously preserving human performance for emotive roles. It sets a necessary benchmark for balancing the high-volume demands of streaming platforms while actually protecting professional voice talent. Voice tech is flooding into live corporate environments too. DeepL is pushing heavily into live voice translation in South Korea right now. Market data shows that nearly 70% of South Korean professionals struggle to convey nuance during real-time, multilingual meetings. Think about that. When 70% of a workforce is losing nuance, that is a catastrophic loss of institutional knowledge. DeepL Voice is positioning voice-to-voice translation as a critical productivity tool for bridging that immediacy gap in live business communications throughout 2026. We're seeing that exact same convergence of traditional language services and live broadcast technology with Omni, a division of the Wolfenstone Group. They recently debuted hybrid live captioning for corporate events. They recognize that raw AI speed just misses critical nuance. It doesn't always catch the room's vibe or industry slang. So Omni blends human expertise with AI. The AI engine handles the sheer speed and volume, but a human captioner sits in the loop to catch the nuance and ensure the live feed stays accurate. To make any of this downstream automation work, the industry is finally realizing the real battle happens upstream. Global design from day one. It has to be a foundational product decision. If you bake a complex multi-layer cake and only after taking it out of the oven decide you want to stir in the sugar, you're going to destroy the cake. That is exactly what companies do when they build a product entirely in English and treat localization as a belated rollout phase. Language, cultural context, and regulatory nuance fundamentally shape how a product behaves. Foundation model developers like OpenAI and Anthropic understand this now. They are employing dedicated localization managers to own the global experience. They are bringing human accountability to probabilistic systems to ensure quality control beyond English. Platforms like Contentful are pushing hard for this too, emphasizing structured content and centralized governance. By breaking content down into modular components, AI-driven localization is embedded upstream in the content architecture. It's no longer a downstream translation task. This upstream shift aligns perfectly with how brands approach new markets. Taiwanese manufacturing and tech firms expanding globally are completely abandoning literal translation strategies. Instead, they are prioritizing cultural intent transfer. Literal translation just converts the words, but cultural intent transfer adapts the emotion and the brand identity, benchmarking efforts against how highly adaptive movie titles are localized. They demand providers capable of executing sophisticated, brand-led localization strategies to compete with Western multinationals. Because a mathematically accurate translation that feels culturally dead will destroy a product launch. Cultural intent transfer applies heavily to visual media too. The speed of AI image generation tools like Nano Banana or Midjourney is incredible, but instantaneous generation does not equal cultural authenticity. If you prompt an AI for a local campaign, it might generate an image of a person showing the OK hand sign, completely unaware that the gesture is highly offensive in places like Brazil. Or it might generate models wearing heavy winter coats for a summer campaign launching in Australia. Deciding what feels culturally natural, from clothing and lifestyle cues to interior design, requires deep market sensitivity and rigorous human judgment to ensure it resonates authentically. All of these moving parts, the workflows, the upstream design, the cultural adaptation, are backed by massive financial and policy shifts. The global localization market is projected to expand from roughly $65 billion to $135 billion by 2033, fueled heavily by the deep integration of neural machine translation and generative AI. And government policies are redrawing the talent pool. The Canadian government is aggressively pushing toward an 8.5% francophone admission target for 2026. They recently issued 4,000 French proficiency invitations with a record low entry score of 393. Lowering that barrier is a huge deal. It creates a localized talent boom for French language services and translation outside of Quebec, immediately influencing how major LSPs operating in North America handle recruitment and expansion strategies. Those LSPs are stepping up to lead clients through all this complexity. Traditional language providers are evolving into high-level consultants. Crestec USA is a great example. They're headlining a major localization conference in Dublin themed From Chaos to Order. They aren't just selling translation. They are prioritizing thought leadership to help enterprise clients navigate this incredibly fragmented landscape of AI tools and global content supply chains. And part of that global strategy means crossing physical and sensory barriers. True global ownership requires real accessibility. Wolfestone UK is championing Braille for corporate accessibility, ensuring compliance with the Equality Act 2010. They emphasize that providing tactile reading systems removes barriers to independent information access. Instead of a healthcare provider just throwing a standard digital PDF onto a patient portal, they issue fully tactile Braille medical records and audio instructions. It guarantees inclusive access without relying on a proxy reader. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a quick reminder that if you want to stay ahead of these massive, seismic shifts and outmaneuver the competition, you can always find more cutting-edge insights like this at localication.com, which brings us right back to you. If you are wondering where you fit into an industry that automates text routing, builds knowledge graphs, and generates instant media, we have to talk about the evolving role of the subject matter expert. The old rules of just keeping your head down and grinding through hundreds of string segments per hour are gone. Your value proposition isn't raw text production anymore. Your value lies in your ability to guide AI tools, coordinate complex automated workflows, and align the machine's output with the client's strategic goals. We constantly warn professionals against localization shyness. That's when language professionals get intimidated by the new tech and let external IT teams or software engineers dictate how AI integration works. You cannot let external tech teams mandate your future. Move away from theoretical debates and get your hands dirty with actual workflow applications. Your discernment, your domain knowledge, and your cultural judgment are the highest valued assets in this new paradigm. You are the orchestrator now. We are decisively moving from theoretical AI discussions into hard operational realities. Highly structured, low-risk content is rapidly moving toward fully autonomous, knowledge graph-governed pipelines. But high-value, emotive, and culturally nuanced content requires fortified human oversight. If AI is taking over the rote translation of words, we are stepping into a much larger, much more complex arena. We are becoming the invisible editors of global culture. And this was your industry update from Locanuku, localization news you can use. The biggest takeaway today is to stop fearing the automation of the mundane. Take ownership of the AI conversation and position yourself as the indispensable human architect of the global user experience. Keep experimenting with these tools. Take control of those workflow meetings and go